of our uranium. Hillary Clinton did a reset. Remember, with the stupid plastic button that made us all look like a bunch of jerks? Here, take a look. He looked at her like, what the hell is she doing with that cheap plastic button? Because I do want to solve the problem. But he probably was told by Schumer or somebody like that, some other lightweight. He was probably told, don't meet with Trump.
Yes, sir. As you were heading into these G7 talks, there was a sense that America's closest allies are frustrated with you and angry with you, and that you were angry with them, and that you were leaving here early to go meet for more friendlier talks with Kim Jong-un in Singapore. And I'm wondering if you view it the same way, and do you view the U.S. alliance system shifting under your presidency away?
Who are you with, out of curiosity?
CNN.
I figured. Fake news, CNN. The worst. But, I could tell by the question. I have no idea you were CNN after the question. I was just curious as to who you're with. You were CNN. I would say that the level of relationship is a 10. The relationship that I've had is great. So you can tell that to your fake friends at CNN.
Just because of the attack of fake news and attacking our network, I just want to ask you, sir.
I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine...
Very fake news.
I know, but aren't you...
That's a good thing for us. Okay, go ahead.
What did you mean just now when you said you wished Americans would sit up at attention when you saw?
I'm kidding. You don't understand sarcasm. Wait, who are you with? Who are you with? You're with CNN? You are the best.
The party's been fighting against a single-payer system for a decade. So I think you're on the wrong side of this if you're still arguing for a single-payer system.
I don't think you heard me. You're having a hard time tonight.
All right, this is a tough business to run for president.
You're a tough guy, G.
And we need to have a leader that is real tough. You're never going to be president of the United States by insulting your way to the presidency.
Let's see, I'm at 42 and you're at 3, so
Doesn't matter.
far I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
So far I'm doing better. Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and the new leader of the Democrat Party, Maxine Waters. She is a low IQ individual, Maxine Waters. She's somewhere in the mid-60s, I believe.
Will you be tweeting differently once you board the Air Force One? Thank you.
No, that's other people that do that. I don't. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. John Roberts, go ahead, John. No. John Roberts, go ahead. CNN's fake news. I don't take questions. I don't take questions from CNN. CNN is fake news. I don't take questions from CNN. John Roberts of Fox. Let's go to a real network. Thank you, Mr. President. Some would be a little bit wild and would have a lot of fun. They'd say he's not acting presidential, and I'd say, well, it's a lot easier to act presidential than to do what I do. Anybody can act president. Ladies and gentlemen of the state of Florida, thank you very much for being here. You are tremendous people. And I will leave now because I am boring you to death. Thank you. This false report that I was supporting somebody else. And they were right. It was fake news. You're right. And I was supporting somebody else. Steve Stivers, but he's in a totally different district. Did they apologize? Did you apologize for that mistake? No, I heard today. I don't think so. Maxine Waters is leading the charge. Maxine. She's a real beauty. Maxine. A seriously low IQ person. Seriously. Maxine Waters Do you ever see this? I mean, you see Pelosi, who, by the way, again, controls Danny O'Connor, whoever the hell that is. Danny O'Connor. And Danny O'Connor, on his resume, put stuff that wasn't true, okay? So he did that. You know, you would have thought he was Perry Mason or something. He was like a low-level person that did nothing. Danny O'Connor. That's a beauty. He's another beauty. This is what we're fighting. For the New York Times that pretends she knows what she's talking about hasn't got a clue. Now, and I'm telling you, the enthusiasm was the same. The place was packed. She made the statement that President Trump was disappointed to see some empty chairs. Yeah, they were going to the bathroom, maybe. and listen, and he was so disappointed at the tone in the room. We left there saying, that was amazing. These are just dishonest, terrible people. I'm telling you that. Terrible people. Remember the lines from NBC, which is probably worse than CNN. But the word is they're firing the head of NBC. What a great thing to do. How smart. That's what the word. Who knows? With these people, you never know. But by the way, take a look. Todd, everybody, Governor, look how many cameras you have back there. It's just quick, like the Academy Awards. Look at it. They can't get enough. But when I start screaming fake news, you see those red lights go off for a little while. You know, excuse me, we have technical difficulties. Okay, then they go back. If crooked Hillary Clinton had won, and she came to Indiana to have a rally for the opponent, who is rated the worst in the Senate, of Mike Braun, if you had 500 people, seriously, if you had, they won't tell you this, but we have an election coming up. We don't have a presidential election coming up. You don't get big crowds. If crooked Hillary came here, if she had 300 to 500 people, first of all, she wouldn't be in this building. She'd be in a hotel conference room. Rubio, are you having fun? He's sweating like a pig. I never saw a guy sweat like this. The sweat is pouring down. I think Rubio is a low energy, but here's the problem with Rubio. When you sweat that much, now think of it. So you have Putin, he's sitting over here. And he's waiting to kill the stupid Americans because he's been just destroying us so badly. So he figures, and a guy walks in and he's soaking wet and sweating. Hello, can I have some water? And Putin's sitting there, what the hell kind of stuff is this? This is not exactly a poker player, folks.
You're the only person on the stage that's ever been fined for hiring people to work on your projects illegally. You hired some workers from Poland.
I'm the only one on the stage that's hired people. You haven't hired anybody. Nobody. You might say, you might talk, your politicians all talk, no action. I've been watching it all my life. You are all talk and no action. What I've seen up here, I mean, first of all, this guy's a joke artist and this guy's a liar. He was such a nice guy. And he said, I'm never going to attack. But then his poll numbers tanked. That's why he's on the end. And he got us my job to get along with people.
But the simple fact is...
Excuse me, 1 second.
No.
I didn't want to...
You cannot take...
More energy tonight. I like it. Well,
on my radio show, the audio and the transcript are out there on YouTube, that you would release your tax returns. Are you going back on your commitment?
First of all, very few people listen to your radio show. That's the good news. Let me just tell you. Which happens to be true. Check out the radio.
I think it's unlikely, but if Jeb became president, when they say, Mr. President, it's very bad that Ford's building in Mexico. Oh, okay. We'll do something. Let me go to sleep first. We'll do something. New York Times. Come on, New York Times. The failing New York Times. Stand up. Go ahead. No, I'm talking about the Times is failing. You are far from failing. Go ahead.
But you're not. You were pointing to me, so you meant me.
The Times, very interesting though. The Times, I think they're going to endorse me.
Yeah.
I think that ABC, Fox. I like Fox. I really do. But I think ABC, CBS, NBC, the Times, they're all going to endorse me because if they don't, they're going out of business. Can you imagine if you didn't have me? Go ahead. What would you like to say? Taking $700,000 from a Hillary Clinton PAC, essentially run by Terry McAuliffe, who's her best friend in the world, and he gives them hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he's in charge of her campaign, and his wife is getting all of this money to run. She lost. To run. I don't think so. Oh, well, yeah, enemies, sure. You use anything
your
you
administration
can.
or
Hey,
your cabinet?
you use anything they can. They're not in love with me. They're not going to beat me in the election. They know that. They're not going to beat me. The people that I'm looking at are total lightweights. I dream of running against those people.
Did you reject a one-on-one meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau?
Yeah, I did.
Why?
Because his tariffs are too high and he doesn't seem to want to move, and I've told him forget about it. And frankly, we're thinking about just taxing cars coming in from Canada. That's the mother lode. That's the big one. We're very unhappy with the negotiations and the negotiating style of Canada. We don't like their representative very much. They've taken it. 6 months since I took off the horrible, horrible Iran nuclear deal, as they called it, one of the dumbest deals ever made. As an example, why didn't they take care of Yemen in the deal? Why didn't they take care of Syria in the deal? You know what Kerry said the reason? It was too complicated. We're given $150 billion. We paid one.
A state of shock.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You said that it's incorrect to say you're limiting the scope of the FBI investigation.
What does that have to do with trade? I don't mind answering the question, but you know, I'd like to do the trade.
It has to do with the other
questions.
headline in the news, which is the
I know,
Kavanaugh
but
nomination.
how about talking about trade, and then we'll get to that. We'll do that a little bit later.
Do you think the trade,
anybody have a trade?
Do you
Go
think
ahead,
your trade
please.
deal will pass through Congress, sir?
I think so, but you know, if it doesn't, we have lots of other alternatives. But I do.
I mean, publicly, you never say anything harsh.
Excuse me, I didn't. I'm the one that gave Ukraine offensive weapons and tank killers. Obama didn't. You know what he sent? He sent pillows and blankets. Sometimes I get a really nasty person with a horrible, stupid question from like CNN because they're just so horrible and so fake. Then I'll hit the reporter back.
It's terrible.
Just modestly hard. And the next thing, President hits reporter, it's terrible, freedom of the press.
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN.
Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts.
Well, I'm not a big fan of yours either, so to be honest.
So let me ask you a question, if I can. You repeatedly said
You aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly over the course
Okay,
of
just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Little pencil neck, Adam Schiff. He's got the smallest, thinnest neck I've ever seen. He is not a long ball hitter. I don't think personally China would sign a deal. If I had a 2% chance of losing the election, I think China would probably say, let's wait. Let's wait. Maybe Trump will lose and we can deal with another dope or another stiff.
Anybody Sleepy Joe?
They would love to see a guy like Sleepy Joe Biden who has no clue what the hell he's doing. They'd say to Sleepy Joe, sir, just sign right there. Oh, okay. I'll sign. Well, you know, Joe is a pretty incompetent guy. I've watched his interviews. I've watched what he said and how he said it. And I wouldn't have rated him very high in the first place. But Joe Biden has truly lost his fastball, that I can tell you. I see that our part-time mayor will be now going back to New York, so they'll be able to work a little bit harder. But he dropped out of the presidential race a little while ago. Too bad. He had tremendous potential. He only had one real asset. You know what it was? Height. Other than that, he had nothing going. Weeks ago, they were able to scope him out. You know, these people are very smart. They're not into the use of cell phones anymore. They're very technically brilliant. You know, they use the internet better than almost anybody in the world, perhaps other than Donald Trump. The press protects him. Watch this crazy Anderson Cooper, third-rate, lousy ratings, third-rate person. But listen, CNN, the worst. I mean, the worst. The worst.
Speech from his home. But as usual, he kind of forgot what was going on. Watch.
Thank you all. Thank you all for listening.
Jill this every day.
Thanks. Okay.
Come get your boy. That's all for.
But she didn't accept them, right? Will you accept it? I remember that question. It was probably the toughest question I had out of all of them. But she hasn't been exactly a gracious loser. She's a loser, but not a gracious
event in Toledo with a handful of people, and he may be running for another office, Laura. Listen.
You know, we have to come together. That's why I'm running. I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate. If we just raise the tax back to what it should be, 28%, that generates over $100 billion. Hear me? That's money. Excuse me, $1.3 trillion. That's what it raises. So vote. Vote. Visit iwill.com/Ohio.
Okay, so we decided to go to that website, Laura. Like so many things on this campaign trail, it was not found. Wait.
The first thing Washington Democrats will do if Sleepy Joe is elected is go to sleep, I guess. You know, I had a leader that called me, a really dynamic leader called me up about 2 weeks ago and said, I don't want to deal with him. He's always going to be sleeping. Can you imagine that? The word gets around.
Do you mind if I sit back a little bit because your breath is very bad? It really is. Has this ever been told to you before?
Some tall person, 14 years old, named Barron Trump got it. And I got better. They gave me something called Regeneron, but I'm sure I didn't need it because I am a perfect physical specimen and I'm very young. I'm very young. Perfect physical specimen.
One of the biggest donors to Nikki Haley's campaign is this slob known as Reid Hoffman. Big slob. Back and forth. He spends a day and then comes back. He falls asleep at every single event. The one beauty was here's a parachute landing. Everybody's watching and he's turned around in the other direction. The new leader of Italy did a great job. She said, turn around, you fool. Listen to this. From 20,000 feet, a paratrooper is landing right in front of him. Everybody, all the foreign leaders, they're watching. And he turns around to look at a tree. He was right. We have to have somebody that can protect us. Right now, we have really low IQ people in there. And the president in particular, he has about a 70 IQ, and he's going against 210. And it never works out. It never works out.
What I want to do tomorrow is spend the day at the DMV. 8 hours in line with a bunch of foreigners who smell like vegetables. Naturally, I'll be in the wrong line. My line will be the one where they're barbecuing the chihuahua.